Ghosting sucks. How many of you have had somebody that you really cared about just disappear from your life without giving any explanation why? Maybe it was a loved one, a family member. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a lover. Maybe it was a partner of many years. I had my closest friend of almost 20 years one day just disappear out of my life with no explanation given, no closure or understanding as to why they chose to sacrifice our relationship after all that time. And here I am, years later, still processing my grief over that experience. Let's have a conversation today about the way we need to treat people, the way we need to own our own responsibility for communicating even in difficult conversations, and also what to do when the person you love leaves. So hey, if we haven't met before, my name is Kaelan. I'm an ecstatic spirituality coach. I host this YouTube channel where we explore the intersection of spirituality and meditation, sex and sexuality, gender, masculinity, and finding belonging, finding our place in this crazy world. I've written a couple books on these topics, and I work with people around the world one-on-one to help them come home to themselves. All right, so a little bit about my story. I had a friend growing up. We met freshman year of high school, right before freshman year of high school, and we're close off and on through high school years into our 20s, and during our 20s we had some really intense bonding moments. We had both come out to each other, we had both started to explore our own sexual identity together, we shared things that we hadn't admitted to anybody else, and we could make each other laugh in a way that I have never experienced before or since. I would just get these belly laughs that wouldn't stop to the point that I would actually ache from laughing so much. But then, as tends to happen, she met a guy and they got married, and the day of their wedding was the last time she ever spoke to me. I'm confident that a big part of it is her husband feeling threatened by her having this intimate of a relationship with another man, even if that man is not interested in her sexually. I have heard that that can sometimes be a common theme with straight women and gay men, or, I don't know if she's straight, but she's married to a guy, so women and their gay friends. But it hurt like hell that after getting ghosted and reaching out, sending emails, sending text messages, sending videos, having friends try to intervene, to hear that she didn't respect our relationship or care enough to sit down and have a conversation with me. The scientists have shown that ghosting is actually one of the most cruel and most uncomfortable ways that a relationship can end, and it's often considered as psychologically damaging as other forms of abuse. Because when someone ghosts, it not only makes you reconsider the whole relationship, it not only makes you reconsider, what did I do? What did they do? Did I misjudge this person? Did I mean as much to them as they meant to me? But it also makes you question yourself, like, what kind of person am I? Am I that horrible of a lover or a friend that someone can just cut me out? Am I so lacking in dignity and so worthless that I am not even deserving of a conversation to let me know what happened? Over the 2+ years since we had this unwilling dissolution of our relationship, I have gone through so many stages of grief. Sometimes within a few moments I could flicker between the emotions of rage and anger and vitriol and wanting to cause harm to this person for hurting me so deeply in a way I never anticipated. And then also feeling love and admiration and appreciation of this person. Reminding myself of all the happy times we shared, all the good memories, all that we meant to each other once upon a time. And to question, am I worth so little that I'm so easily abandoned? But something I often coach my clients on, and I remind myself of the same thing, is that no matter how direct somebody's actions feel toward you, it really is never about you. No matter what somebody does, it doesn't matter if it feels so targeted. It's really not about you, because people treat others in a way that reflects how they treat themselves and how they feel about themselves. And people will eventually share with everyone in their social circles more or less the same sides of their personality. So what I mean by that is, if you notice a friend is gossiping about others, know that you will eventually be on the other side of things. You will eventually be the one gossiped about. And if you have a friend, like mine was, who I would watch jettison relationships, cut off her sister, cut off her aunt, cut off her former best friends, the best woman at her wedding she apparently no longer speaks to either, and be willing to sacrifice meaningful relationships rather than sit down and have difficult conversations. Do not think that you will be the exception. Do not think that somehow you'll be the one that is treated differently, because you won't. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. If we have a deep state of contentment, joy, deep internal integration, if we've sat down and had difficult conversations with ourselves and faced the nasty bits, the scary bits, the frightening bits, and made peace with them, then we'll start to see that in our outer world where we'll have those uncomfortable conversations and we'll lean into the difficulty and we'll be willing to put in the hard work that all relationships require. But if somebody's not willing to do that with themselves, they won't be able to offer that to somebody else. When I was a younger man, I would often get the feedback that I came across as inauthentic, that I seemed like that people didn't know who I was. And I didn't quite realize at that time that I didn't know myself who I was. I was deeply closeted, even from myself. I wanted to desperately be anyone but me. I didn't want to be me. When I have that level of shame and that level of disassociation with myself, how could I expect to be honest and authentic and connected with anyone else? And so too is it with this friend. I should have seen the warning signs, and now I know better. I should have watched how this person treated others and realized this person wouldn't be able to treat me in the way that I needed. I watched how this person was very judgmental of other people and how they live their lives and became very rigid, especially after she converted to a very conservative form of Catholicism. How she maintained very hardline views of right and wrong with very little compassion for the gray area in between. I should have known that the way I live my life and the things that I offer here and online would have been far too challenging for her. But ghosting creates this deeply uncomfortable situation for the person being ghosted. It makes us do a lot of the processing power on our own and to deal with the fact that how could I have been so wrong about somebody I loved so much? Because let's be clear, ghosting is a form of cruelty. It is a form of deep unkindness. And when we become more secure with ourselves, it's easier to have those uncomfortable conversations and say, hey, you did this thing, or we did this thing, and it made me sad, it made me angry, it made me uncomfortable. Can we please talk about it and move forward together? But we have to do the work in ourselves to mature enough so that we can show up and be vulnerable and be authentic and be connected to the people we care about. Because I don't want to do that to anyone else. I mean, sure, if it's somebody I don't know who's harassing me online and keeps begging for my attention, I don't have an issue with just blocking them and being like, I owe you nothing. Just, leave me alone. But if it's somebody who I've cultivated a relationship with and I've cared about, to have the respect and integrity for them, to end things graciously. And people show this even with dating. They find it much less painful to have someone say, hey, thank you for these really great experiences. I think you offer so much. You're not the right person for me. There's a lot I like about you, but I really think that we need to find people who are more compatible. People would much rather hear that than just radio silence. The very first guy I ever fell for ghosted on me, and man, that took me a long time to get over. I had a favorite relative, an uncle through marriage, who is dealing with some severe emotional problems, but he just cut me out of his life like a lot of other people. He did, and that was really painful. My first boyfriend, when he dumped me, he refused to have any communication, talk anything through afterwards. It was just, we're done, goodbye. And again, I had to process on my own. In all of these instances, not that I would necessarily want to change the outcome, not that I would want them back or want to be in relationship with them, but it could have been handled in a way that allowed all of us to heal and move forward together, and that we could find healing and peace with each other if only they'd been willing to have the difficult conversations. But here's the key thing to remember. When somebody self-selects out of your life, whether they leave graciously or they ghost or leave in a tantrum, let them go, as painful as it might be, because here's the thing. If you were living life where you were consciously working to grow and evolve and become more integrated, more whole, and more healed, you are going to outgrow people. As your vibration expands and becomes more joyful, you're going to find that people are no longer in resonance with you, and they're going to self-select out. And the people who choose not to be in your life anymore, I promise, they will be replaced with people who are so much better for you and more in attunement with where you are now. In psychology, there's this thing called differentiation, meaning that if you're here, you can be in relationship with people who are about this far away from you. But if you start to grow and you start moving up here, suddenly these people are no longer in close enough proximity to you for a viable relationship. When my husband entered his graduate program to become a clinical psychologist, one of his professors said, all of you here in the classroom today, 90% of you will no longer be with your significant other by the time you graduate. Not that there's anything wrong with them or not that they're good people, but you're about to go on this tremendous growth journey. And unless you have a partner who is growing equally and growing in the same direction as you, you're just not going to have enough in common anymore. And here's the hard thing to admit, especially for those people who have been in our lives for a long time, is sometimes we do outgrow them. I mean, for those of you who have been watching my YouTube channel from the beginning, 3 years now, you've probably known, I've grown and evolved quite a bit during that time. I mean, the same week as this friend's wedding, the last time I ever heard from her, I went down to Ecuador and then went on a 10-day spiritual retreat where I fundamentally changed as a person. Who I was before and who I am after is very, very different. I think that's no mistake that those things coincided. This friend couldn't hold me where I am now. This friend couldn't celebrate me where I am now. They would have a lot of judgment and prejudice against me. As much as I cherish the happy memories, I deserve better. I deserve to be with people who love me unconditionally and support me unconditionally, even if they don't necessarily agree with all my choices, that the love is there, and somebody who can't offer that, I don't want them in my life. And this isn't me being judgmental or me feeling entitled. This is what I want for every one of you. Every one of us deserves to have our primary relationships, our partners, our closest friends, love us unconditionally. And incidentally, she and I had one other friend we were very close to. His name's Matt. I was actually the best man in his wedding a couple years ago. Also friends since freshman year of high school. He's also Catholic, very devoutly so. And he has never once made me feel judged. He knows all my crazy shit. He knows about me hanging weights off my penis. He's been with me in Mexico. I had him break into my parents' house to find something for me once. He knows all my skeletons. And he knows all the things that do not agree with the teachings of the Catholic Church. And he's quite literally a choir boy. He still sings in the choir every week. He has never once made me feel anything other than accepted and loved in my totality. And we're not somebody who talks every week. We catch up maybe once every so often, but one of the things I so value about him is how deeply loved he makes me feel. He's a straight white boy with a wife and a little baby, but me, my queer, radical, radiant self, he has never made me feel anything else other than loved. And that's remarkable. And that's what I wish for all of you. So don't ghost. If you are ghosted, try to have compassion for them and realize it was never about you. And thank the universe for creating space for somebody more wonderful who will be able to love you in your entirety. I'm Kaelan. This is Ecstatic Self. Blessings to you.